So Estudio number 8 by Fernando, a beautiful piece that will give you ample opportunities to work with different sonorities, work on tone color, and work on emphasizing a melody and keeping a background, quieter while you're just moving different parts. So let's just jump into it. You start in D minor. You're holding 1 for the F, and your D is on the second string, 3rd fret. And you're going to be using this fingering a lot, not 3, but 4, right? And your melody is in the bass, so you want to really be lighter in your right hand as you play, right? You want to be lighter with the fingers and a little bit heavier with your thumb, right? And be careful with this pull-off. You don't want to pull too hard, right? And throw the whole piece out of balance. And also notice that you are not putting your second chord on the stronger part of the second beat, but on the weaker, right? On the end of 2. And then you are on kind of a D minor chord, but you have an E on top, a note. Sword didn't make a mistake with that. He's kind of giving you a preview of coming attractions. You are about to get an A major chord, and he's just piecemeal giving it to you. He's giving it to you in just little bits, right? And then here comes the A major. Right? In the score, it's notated as 2 and 3. You can use 1 and 2 if you want. It's totally up to you. Then back to D minor. And you're going to keep this disposition. You're going to move it to 3rd position and grab your A major chord. It's inverted, right? You have the C sharp in the bottom. And then you're going to move right back to D minor, right? In 1st position. So here you have A7 really. And then you actually are going to land on D minor, but you're going to put in that G sharp, which hints at a dominant of A, which is coming later. Here you turn the G7, the G sharp into a G natural, which is the 7th of the A7th chord. Right? And I ended up on 1 here. That's actually a mistake. You really want to use 2 and 3 for this. So 2 and 3. You want to end up with 2 there because of this situation as you start the second line. And instead of going to A, the dominant, you do go to A, but it's A minor. So you have a borrowed minor 5. And things start getting very interesting at this point, right? So you start hinting at kind of like, I'm going to go towards a dominant, but a dominant of A, which is an E major chord. Not quite there, but here with the reintroduction of that G sharp, here you have your E7, right? Right, in a different formation. And that leads you right back to the dominant and A. So this being the dominant of A, this needs to be more present. So, and then, okay, so let's actually look at the finger mechanics of this whole equation. So we're starting on the second line. Here is your A minor chord, 1 and 2. So you land on the A minor chord, which is a borrowed minor dominant, right? So we're going somewhere else with this. So he's going to travel and put the entire melody on the G string. Slide 2 over to the B flat. So you start 2 on A. Then you grab your C, also on the 3rd string. Right? He's just going to ornament that with harmony. Here's where we're going to take a wild departure, and we're going to look towards a diminished D chord that is going to lead us towards an E major chord, right? So stay with me here. You're going to move 1 backwards, and then your pinky stays right there on that 5th fret, 1st string. You're going to grab the A bass on 1, so it's now going to be a B. And then retract your pinky 1 fret back so you're in the 4th fret. 1 hammers to 2 on the 4th string. Stay with 1 there. You're going to need it again, and you're going to sneak your ring finger onto the B string, and then you're going to bring ring and pinky half stacked, 3rd string, 1st string, and A bass. Immediately you're going to move your index finger back, a little bit of a stretch. The harder stretch comes up in the 2nd section. Move back. Don't hammer yet, hammer now. Consider hammers and pull-offs as ornaments, right? So don't overdo them. Guitarists tend to do them quite often, and more often than not, it's not really that helpful to overdo them. If you do them in the right place, they really can do a lot for your music. So let's take a look at that first entire section. Very important to land with 2. And then we're going to do a repeat. Now, why would I want to do a repeat of exactly the same thing I just did? I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually work, on my right hand. I'm going to switch. Before I was putting most of my weight on these 2 fingers as I was playing the bass melody, right? So now I'm going to switch things around. So I'm going to put much more presence, much more weight onto the treble fingers, and much less weight. I'm barely going to brush the string over here. So I'm going to be doing this. Right? Notice how I'm putting more weight on this side of my hand, and I'm going to make a melody that is a lot lighter. And then comes the tricky part of putting them both together, right? Sorry, that was a minor, not a major chord. So as we look at what's going on in the left hand, it's the left hand is very similar to what we did in the first section. But just to give you, or to correct my C sharp at the very end. So you had this on the very last measure, or last measure of the second system, right? Second ending, right? So in the music, you're going to notice that there's a bracket that tells you first ending. You go back to the very beginning of the piece, you repeat, you skip the first bracket, and you go to the second bracket, and that's what I just did. And now here comes my pinky stayed there. Out of practice, ring finger is going to half stack. It's going to go into the 3rd string. They're both on the 5th fret, and I'm going to execute my biggest stretch of the piece. Right, my index is going to grab. So this is on the 5th fret. My index is going to grab the 6th string on the very 1st fret. Right, so let's look at it from a different angle. A little bit uncomfortable for the left hand, but you're not. The good news is that you're not going to be there for a long time. Right, things get a little bit more normalized once you get over here to the 3rd fret, right? So we'll look at it from this angle, right? And from there, you're going to slide. Now, There is no notation as to whether you should land and pluck, articulate as you finish your slide on the 7th fret, right? So you're going from. I prefer not plucking it, right? It's just a different sonority. And you are going from that E over to an F, right? And you can pluck the F. So why really pluck those two notes? It's very beautiful, very pretty, great sounding. Then your open G is going to enable you to get back into position, right? So here you are. 3rd fret slides to 7th fret, only slides, and then pluck the 2nd finger on the 8th fret. This is all 5th string. Then open 3rd string. It's going to liberate you to get into a position that is not extremely comfortable. You are going to start in 2nd position, but you're going to move your index finger right over to 3rd position. So for all counts and purposes, let's consider it 3rd position. I would set up the pinky and ring finger first. So remember, you're coming out of an open G situation. You just did this business, right? Set up those 2 fingers first. A lot easier if you look at it from that perspective, right? Then you have that slide, but that's not the whole story. As you do this business, it behooves you to make your index finger turn into a bar. Although you're not really plucking the G string more than just a G string there, you are going to need that 5th string over here. And if you don't do this move right now, you're going to have to do something like this. And in the heat of battle, that is going to actually create an extra accent. It's going to throw off your melodic treatment. It's so much easier if you just do this and train yourself to do that. So it's a bit of practicing, right? Instead of this. So it's not just horizontal, it's also vertical, or diagonal, if you will. So you just want to make sure that you're going to get that C, right? So. And then your ring finger is going to come up, right? So let's look at it from this vantage. Your ring finger is going to be first on the 1st string, right? It's on the 1st string. It's going to move now up. Pinky stays where it is, right? Ring finger is going to move up to the 3rd string, right? Right, and you pluck the first 3 strings, right? And it's because of that bass that we did that move over there. Trust me, as you do this very delicate movement, that is going to disrupt the whole thing, right? So you really want to be kind of prevent the situation before it happens. So again. And that ring finger comes down to the 2nd string one more time, right? Now you're going to put all of your weight down here on that ring finger on the 2nd string. So you empty the energy that you had in your bar and shift it over here. And you're going to kind of pivot your hand so that it is coming over to the 5th fret, right? So that's the E on the 5th fret. And you're going to line your bar and grab the G string, right? Another slightly uncomfortable chord, but if you practice it and you just think of where you're going with your melody, it really is going to make things easier, right? So. Right? And so over here, if we look at it from this vantage, you have your ring finger on the 2nd string, 7th fret, and your pinky is going to be on the D string on the 8th fret. Right? And your 2nd finger is going to grab that D string, but this time on the 7th fret, right? And here you're just going to tear that whole mechanism down. The score doesn't tell you to use 1 and 4. Let me take a look at what it does there. Yeah, it says to use 2 and 4. You could. I think that it's a lot easier to just use 1 and 4 here because of the solution that I have proposed here. You have this, right? I put a little pull off there, and it serves me well to do this. So let's look at it from this other point of view, right? And then I put 2 on 4. Yes, like it's in the score. I add 3 on the 4th string there, right? Now, you might be horrorized by looking at what's originally proposed by Segovia here. Segovia had very long fingers, very large hand. And you can, I mean, you really have to prepare yourself. So it is possible. It's not impossible to follow the fingerings that Maestro Segovia gave us. But I think that sorry. Different angle. 2 is on the 6th fret, 4 is on the 2nd string, 8th fret, and your ring finger is on the 4th string, 8th fret. Then your bar is going to grab the G string on the 5th fret, and you gotta be careful with the ring finger to not get that buzz there. Right, your ring finger is going to travel to the 3rd string on the 7th fret, right? And then the reason why I'm going up to the 5th string here, because of bass again. And you could get that bass on the open D string, so you really could just make your bar up to the 3rd string here, right? So if you just wanted to shortcut a little bit, you could. Since we were holding the bass over here on the C, just moving it up to the 5th string, it's a little bit more work, but I think it's worth it. Totally up to you. You're the one that gets on stage with this piece, right? So right, it's just, you just lift 2 and 3 and move your bar over to the 3rd. Pull off from the A to the G. The pinky grabs the F on the 2nd string, and then back to the 3rd string, and then you just walk your bar over to the 2nd fret. Right? Right? Now, this is a beautiful transformation by Sor. I mean, we do have to give him credit for this. So you landed here. After that, well, it's worth actually walking through very slowly this whole business that we just did. So I'm going to very slowly play through this. This is the beginning of the 2nd section, right? So I'm gonna on the Segovia edition of the Sor Etudes, this is the 3rd system last measure. Shifting weight. Now here, you have that D minor, right? You constructed a D minor chord. Here you start with kind of a dominant E major chord, but it's not really because it's got a G natural. Then it's a G sharp, which is properly what you need to have on a dominant chord, right? Right? But you don't have the root in the bass, so it's inverted. And it's no longer a B flat, right? So really supporting that E major chord that we want, right? And that brings you to an A major chord, right? So you're landing back on the dominant. So you kind of constructed out of D minor, you tonicized that D minor by step moved up to E major. Well, E minor first, D minor to E minor. Then on a very interesting turnaround, hammers and pull-offs, he turned it into an E major, and that brings you on to an A major, and that sets you up to start the last statement of the theme as it's going to come back. Right, so one more time, landing here. So I'm actually starting on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th system, second measure. Here we go. And then you have a little playing around on A major. Now, if you want to add an ornament here, you could do something that is very effective and very easy to do. Right? 1 is on the D string, 2 is on the G string, and then you're going to pull off, pluck again the 2, pull off, hammer the same note with 1, right? So it's the second finger. And then, and again, ending with 2, very important, because we start again. Instead of doing the theme exactly the way that he had it at the very beginning, right? He actually went straight to the B flat. This time around, no, he starts the same way and land a bar. Actually, don't land a bar. Yes. I was getting ahead of myself. The bar is coming later. So here's the return. And this is the last 3 systems, second measure, right? I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is old material. You know all about this, right? And then this is a little bit different, but not too different. But you're landing here. Here's where I was talking about the bar, and I did not do the bar. So right. So that's where your bar came in. So here's the return. Right. So, and that turns into an A major chord. You could grab it with 3 and 2 or 1 and 2. And then things get really interesting here. Before we had an F natural, right? Now it's going to be an F sharp, so it's really pointing at a D major chord. For that matter, it's a D7 because we have a C in the chord, right? You pull off, remember, don't pull off too strongly, like I did. And then we land a bar on the 3rd fret, and your melody is still in the D string. Right? So let's take a look at that. So this is the last 2 systems, second measure. The D dominant chord. And notice that I don't need to do a bar there, right? Now I'm going to pivot on that second finger, and I'm going to land my bar. Making sure that my bar grabs the D string, right? So, sorry, I lost my A. And then things are going to move over closer to the first position. Right, I got ahead of myself there. So, and then you're in second position, right? 3 and 4, G string, E string. little bit of an unorthodox movement of the left hand. You are pretty much in a forward position, right? Index finger is higher, pinky is lower. That's what I call forward. The opposite is backward, right? Not that backward is anything negative. Sometimes we have to turn your hand this way, turn your hand that way. So here you're doing it radically. And it's really helpful when you're navigating those shifts to know what kind of position your hand is going to land on. So before you even move your fingers, your hand is turning around and facilitating that exchange, right? Right? Right. So let's take a look at this whole equation. Very important to use 4 here, because you're going to use 1 and 2 here, first string, third string. Here, you're going to use 3 for the 5th string, because you're going to have to turn your hand all the way around. You're in backwards position, you're going to go right away after that into forwards position. Right? It's kind of like a C major, but it's really an F major chord. Right? Or you could hint at a D minor with a passing C chord. Right? So you're kind of doing this, but with 2, right? Why 2? Because you're going to need 1 to the B flat, right? 1 is going to grab your B flat on the 5th string. So I would spend some good serious time practicing that shift, right? You could start by minimizing what you have to do. Just the 2 and 4, right? And prepare the 1. Right? And then you're going to move right away. Keep the pinky where it is. And you're going to move 3 to cover the G on the 6th string. So you're going to doing the pinky splits, right? You're getting on top of that an open E, right? So this whole equation. He's got to pull off on that B flat. I would consider it optional. And then from the inside, the open 3rd string, move the 2nd finger, and then you're going to move the 2nd finger right back and land your bar, and your pinky is going to grab the B string, right? And then stack 2 and 3. So here is the piece. Enjoy the piece.